say, folks, this is Allan Gadsden, comes to us from PCA, and then they would, talk a little bit about you and then turn it over to you.
Okay.
So you can get started whenever you're ready.
Great. Well, I would like to thank everybody. Thank you for that introduction. I thought that introduction was great. Yes, I've been coaching basketball for close to over 20 years. I was an athlete as well. But getting into the coaching world has been fun. It's been challenging, and I'm hoping that this workshop is engaging for all of us. It's not a lecture. I'm not up here to be your teacher. I'm not up here to be your professor. We've been there and done that with all of that. And as coaches, I think we should be able to interact with each other. So one thing I would like to do, because as coaches, sometimes we tend to get into our comfort zones. I know for Ruben and Kelly, this is going to be hard to do because you're in two different places, but let's act as if we were in the same place.
Yep.
I like for everyone to take off one sneaker and toss it into the middle of the room. All right? So after you take your sneaker off, toss it in the middle of the room. And so now everybody have one sneaker off. I like you to get up and pick up a shoe that is not yours and give it to a person that identifies their shoe, shake their hand, and introduce yourself to someone.
Love it.
All right. All right, good. So this is how we're going to build relationships and build team. All right. And so now we're going to be able to talk through different scenarios that go on throughout this workshop. This workshop is interactive, as I mentioned. Feel free to raise your hand and ask questions or give some input. And as this workshop will go, we'll interact with each other throughout the whole workshop. Before we get started, I want you to get out your cell phone for a minute, not to take pictures of me, but to get a text sent to you. And the phone number on this that I want you to put in is area code 650, as you see on the PowerPoint, 650-763-2405. That text, and in that text, when you text, you're going to put the numbers, whatever that, and you guys would give us the number to text, okay?
Yep.
And then put your first, last name, and email address in there, and Positive Coaching Alliance will get that information, and you'll get texts from PCA on the great happenings that go on with the company and with the organization from there. If you don't do it now, that's fine. At the end of the workshop, you can come up and get that information from me as well. I'll put the PowerPoints and stuff back up if you want to. Again, this is a loose workshop, so feel free to always ask questions or anything that concerns you about the organization. Well, here's PCA. PCA has over 80,000 coaches that are trained in this organization, and we reach a lot of youth throughout this organization, about 3.3 million, as you see. We have workshops all over the country, and you're part of those, part of that workshop today. Also, we have a lot of clicks that come onto the PCA website. People are checking out, parents are checking out, coaches are checking out, and athletes are checking out PCA because this company and it's really, really growing throughout high school, college, and youth levels. Coaches are being attached to this because of the positivity that it gives off. So speaking of positivity, I wanted to start off with one question, as you see on this PowerPoint. And one thing before I even get started, we're gonna use the PowerPoint to guide us, but we're not going to be heavy on the PowerPoints. We don't have to go through the PowerPoint and go, we did this, we did this, we did this. If we get a little bit off, we'll get right back to it. But I want to make sure that we know that what we have up there is just not, we're not stuck on that. If we have to go back to something to help something make sense, then we'll just do that as well. But the first question, as we see in this PowerPoint right here, says, what does this phrase mean to you? Creating an atmosphere that supports the best possible performance. What does that phrase mean to you, coaches? Creating an atmosphere that supports best possible performance.
To me, it means
for me, when I look at
to me, it means coaching the kids in a way that allows them to reach their potential and maximize their growth, and help them be in a frame of mind to perform well in training and in competition.
Awesome.
I like the word atmosphere. Like, to me, it means that it's not all on me as the coach. You know, even though it's called positive coaching, I would think like it has all to do with me. But if you're talking about creating an atmosphere, that means that everybody involved has to be on the same page. So that's what I take out of it.
Oh, it's great. I agree with you all along those lines. And I think the atmosphere as well. And let me know if you all agree with this. The atmosphere is just not the player and the coaches, but it's, especially if you're coaching youth, it's the community. It's the parents. It's their peers. If we can create an atmosphere with all of that involved, I think the player, the program, and coaches, everyone involved is successful. So I want to add that in. I really appreciate what you gave in terms of an answer. And I want you all to share those nuggets with each other as we move through. We have here, the next PowerPoint we have here is Dr. Feckerson from UNC says there's a perception that the best way to get what you want out of employees or players is by negativity or threats, but negativity doesn't work as well as positivity. Can we discuss that quote? Does negativity work for you, or do you think positivity works for you? How do you coach? How do you use your voice or your style of coaching? Which one works for you? Do you buy into that perception?
Do you want us to discuss it now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I am a pretty positive person, and I think positivity works to an extent. But then there are times when I need to pull out the tough negativity to get my players motivated, because they might be like goofing around or not paying attention to what they should be doing or not focused. And that's when I feel like sometimes I just need to be like the tough guy and come in and just lay into them a little bit, just to get them to work a little harder. But I think overall I'm a positive person, but I do pull out that kind of tough side when I need to.
Now, do you do that do you balance it in terms of your 90% positive that day, 10% a little bit? How do you balance how do you bring that part out, that negative part?
I think it depends on the day. I think, sometimes I find like the kids come in and they're like during warm up, they might be kind of, messing around or goofing around, and like we might have a big game the next day and I need them to focus. Or, if they think a drill goes a little bit long, they work hard for the first 5 minutes of it, but then they just kind of trail off. And that's when I need to just kind of lay into them a little bit.
Gotcha. Good. Ruben, you have anything?
Yeah, I when I reflect on my coaching, I feel like I was positive, except when I didn't know what to do. Then I'd get negative. So, my skills. When I was coaching with skill, I think it was through positivity. When I was coaching through I don't know what to do or frustration, I think I got negative. And what Coach over here, Coach Kratz, said about being tough and being negative, I don't think those are the same thing. I think that you can be tough. And I just went to a 30-year reunion of a college volleyball team where I was the assistant coach, and the players were talking so fondly of the head coach and how tough he was on them. But they weren't talking about he yelled at us or he sweared at us, or he just held us accountable. And we knew if we were late, there were going to be consequences. And we knew that once we did that consequence, we would never be late again, Anyway, just some thoughts on.
Yeah. So we're looking at it here. Like, we look at the word tough and negativity, and we look at positivity. Tough doesn't always have to mean negative. Tough can also give a positive end result. Depending on like Coach said, like Coach Kratz said, it could be depending on the day, and that day and that time of season can really depend on how you throw out that toughness.
Yeah, I've seen some coaches get negative, and they think they're being tough. I think I think you want to hold your players accountable. In fact, I think that's being a positive coach, is holding them accountable. But I've seen coaches that yell at players, but they're not holding a player accountable. Mm-hmm. There's no true consequence. It's just you yelled at them.
Right.
But It's not like, okay, if you're not a more supportive teammate, it's going to affect your playing time. Well, that kind of accountability.
Now, a quick question for both of you. Do you feel this way as a head coach as well as an assistant coach?
It's funny. I was a head coach for many years, and just this year I've stepped into the assistant coach role, and I love it. I don't ever want to be a head coach again. The buck doesn't stop with me. So there are times when we go into our halftime speech and that my head coach will say, I'm going to be the bad guy. I need you to be the good guy. Mm-hmm. And by that, he doesn't mean negative. He just means that he needs me to follow up with a lot of encouragement, a lot of positivity. He was going to just be pointing out a lot of the things that they needed to work on. And he knows that we need positivity. So he'll ask me, he'll say, I'm going to be the tough guy. You need to come in and follow up with a lot of encouragement, a lot of specifics. So that's a good role. It's a fun role to be in.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes, yes, it's sometimes in my coaching career, I agree. Being an assistant is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And the next quote said, positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anyone else's. So, we have head coaches that can be positive, assistant coaches can be positive. Do you think that whole atmosphere needs to be positive in order for it to be contagious?
I do.
Well, no, I think it's going to be, for the positivity to be contagious, but I think negativity can be contagious too. So, if you want a positive atmosphere, yes, I think the whole coaching staff has to be on board.
On board, absolutely. And in next one we see here is study after study shows the benefits of being more positive is the approach. Is if we approach things in a positive manner, we more than likely will get a positive result. And so we'll continue to keep talking about positive things as we move along. As you see here, we have the elite coaches agree. These names for some of you will ring a bell. Even if you're not from that generation, you'll see some great coaches that are up here that and actually we'll get into that more about age gaps and generational coaching and players from different generations just due to respecting the game and things like that as we move forward. So let's so we touched on some positivity. So what distracts you from the positivity? What kind of things are all that come up during maybe your practices or games that distract you from being positive?
Poor execution by the players.
Okay.
Parents.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Questionable calls by the officials.
And when you're in that moment, how do you handle those things? When you're in that moment, let's use the example of an official. Okay, let's use that. You're in the moment. It distracts you from. Okay, sorry, it was my son.
No worries.
That will happen in a workshop too. He'll probably be there and run right by.
That's totally fine. We've done these demos with baby sitting on your lap, Alan. Yep. Totally fine.
So what do you think works better? Does the positivity work better, or does the negativity distract when you're dealing with, say, an official?
I think negativity distracts.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I don't get negative because it takes a lot of self-control and you get emotional in those moments, especially when it's a critical part of the game and you don't agree with the call. But try to be mature, try to be respectful, try to keep my players and team focused on what we can control. But I can't say I always do it.
Yeah. All right, and then to build on that, and the next question, as we see here in the PowerPoint, is, and especially speaking of officials, and we talk, and every sport has officials. You talk about putting parents in there, community in there. Why is there so much negativity in sports? Why is it, some people show up to a game, and the first thing, especially live in a small community or an area where you constantly see the same officials, he or she may walk onto the field or court and people go, oh, here we go, we got so and so today. Why do you feel there's so much negativity in sports, officials or a coach or a parent not liking the coach? Why do you feel there's so much negativity there?
I got a really good answer for this at a workshop a few weeks ago. The person said, I feel like there's so much negativity in sports because we feel out of control. And when you feel out of control, we tend to get negative. And I thought I thought it was a really cool way to look at it, because he said, when I'm a parent sitting on the sidelines, I'm out of control. I can't control what my kid's doing out there on the field. So I flip out. When I'm a coach and an official is making calls I don't agree with, that's out of my control. So I flip out. And I just thought that was really interesting, because it's probably true. And we know for athletes, we get anxious when we're out of control. So I thought that was a good comment.
Kelly, that I think that's a great response. And you know what? And that's the nature of sports.
Yeah.
Is there's a scoreboard and there's two teams playing. They both want to win, and only one can win. We're not in control of the outcome on any given day. And so it's built into sports, and it's like, I think whoever that was, Kelly, I think it's pretty astute observation that that's what makes sports frustrating. That's what gets us negative, and it's what makes sports great.
Yeah. I just thought it was a really good answer, because it doesn't make parents seem like the bad guy. It's not saying that they're out of control, parents are idiots, parents are crazy, because that's what I hear a lot from coaches. And it was actually a really concise way of saying parents feel out of control, and that's why they are negative. So anyway, just wanted to share that.
Well, it's a good point. I hope everyone took notes down on that, because
well, it's something that organizations and coaches should tell parents. I mean, it's the type of thing that they can communicate. Hey, if you're going to do this, understand you're moving into a realm where you're not going to have control. You don't get to try. You don't get to decide who we pass the ball to. You don't get to decide who we call the penalty on. You don't get to decide whether we play at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m.
Right.
So go into this with your eyes wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Control is a real thing. That's that's very real. And I think as a collective group of coaches, and especially everybody being here at this workshop, I hope that a lot of Me Too's help strengthen you as a coach to go out into the field and not feel alone. Because I know sometimes being a leader in anything, but especially as a coach, sometimes you can feel like you're out on an island. And that's one thing I love about PCA as an organization is you don't have to feel like you're out on an island. There's a lot of support here and a lot of people here that share your same views and values. And it's great to bounce these kind of things off of each other. So as you move forward, you have people you can talk to. So that takes us into the vision of PCA. We use sports psychology research and the best practices to help develop better athletes and better coaches and better people. And what I like about and to share with you is to use the sports psychology research. It's not an organization that just gives you flyby information and says, hey, this is positive, bang, use it. If it's not, if it's not factual and it's not something that's going to help further the mission for the community as a whole, we're just not going to use it. And I think PCA is spot on for using factual research. And it takes us to where you have support from all this research. Yeah, research-based coach modeling. You have the tools that you can use on our website. It's a slew of tools that you can use to better yourself as a coach, not just personally as a coach, but for your staff, for parents, and for players. Maybe one day you may want to have just a pre-game talk or pre-practice talk with your parents and players and have information from PCA on maybe behavior or maybe how to deal with with officials. So you'll have all that information. So the ongoing support, you have books as resource. We have, again, weekly coach talking points, and we have our website. So we have here what makes a great youth sports experience for kids, and what do you think makes a good sports experience for kids? And we're talking about kids that are just introduced to sports at any age, because there's kids sometimes we think that kids start sports at 5 or 6, where sometimes there's kids that start sports at 11 and 12. So when I ask that question, I want you to think what makes these kids, what makes an experience good for these kids, no matter where they start playing sports, they're still kids.
Well, when I was a kid, I loved putting on a uniform and getting out there and getting a chance to compete and experience the excitement of competition without adults getting mad and upset and taking the joy out of it. Whenever things went bad, it was rarely because one of the kids lost their cool. It was almost always because an adult lost their cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly?
Yeah, I think for me, my first youth sports experience was phys ed class. And I think that was a great way to start sports because it was a teacher teaching. It was all about the teaching of the sport. So there was never, I mean, we played games, but it was never like there was a winner at the end of gym class, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was just a good mindset. I didn't play organized sports till 7th grade. So it was a good foundation for me in just noticing improvement along the way. So I think in terms of that, I think if you have a good coach that can recognize your accomplishments along the way and give you positive feedback as you go through without worrying about, did you get everything right? Did you get everything perfect? I think that makes for a really good experience for kids.
That's great. That's great. And so and it looks like as we move forward, you want to feel connected, feeling connected to a teammate or a coach, believing that it can improve, and feeling proud about acting with integrity. Like all those things that we see in this PowerPoint you just explained. And that was a part of your growing up. And that's part of you as a coach giving back. I believe, and we believe in PCA, your experiences make you who you are, and some started early. Kelly started a little bit later, so if you have good coaches that understand where you are developing as a young person, you can really make your experience a positive one. How am I doing on time?
You're 23 minutes in.
All right. Mm-hmm. And so it looks like I would be up to the coaching model. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to wait till next week?
No. So the coaching model part is just connected to those 3 principles. And then still part of the introduction is the next part that has the double goal coach model. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like the legacy piece and then double goal coach is still part of the introduction.
Okay. So I got it. Okay, good. All right. So good. So we'll move forward, and I have 7 minutes in that part. Okay. So we'll move forward and we'll go right to checking out this coach model. All right. This is PCA's model of coaching. And what's a double goal coach? A double goal coach is, as you see here again, striving to win and teaching life lessons. So winning is a thing. Winning is important. Winning is when you have a score being kept, there's a winner and then there's a loser. But now we look at a PCA from this angle is the double goal coach wants to strive to win, which is fine. But then if we do lose, is there some life lessons that can be taught in that loss? Do you lose? Are you a loser, or did we learn from losing? As myself as a coach, I tell my teams when we lose a game, we didn't lose, we learned. We learned what not to do. We learned what we could have done better. But the double goal coach is not the coach looking to win at all costs. Are any coaches out here ever met a coach that will bench a few kids just to get the win? Or does he put the kids in that he knows that are not as talented, but they're kids and they're learning to experience a game, and if they lose it, do they learn from it, or do you ever experience people that win at all costs? Have you ever come across those type of people?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some in this league right here.
Yeah, yeah. And from personal experience, we've just gone through something with a team that my son was on, that he was a win at all cost guy. And funny when your gut feeling knows that something's not right. And I knew I was a double goal coach when that took place, because we were striving to win, but I wanted to I also felt that there could have been some good life lessons to be taught if he would have got some other players in.
Mm-hmm.
So the life lessons, we all know sometimes if you've coached long enough that your players will come back and say hello to you, or you may bump into a player and talk. And the life lessons, you see them successful in life. They graduated from high school. They've either graduated from college. Some of them have started families. And you talk about the things they've learned over a course of time. Not too many of them remember the score of a game. And so that's where PCA is talking about teaching the life lessons in our little circle that we have over here. So I think I got it, right?
Yeah.
We're good? All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That was good.
Well done.
Thanks.
How'd you feel going through that?
I felt good. The only thing I didn't like for myself is I don't have a spot to do it. I would be standing up.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
True.
And so I felt like if I was standing up more, I wouldn't be using my hands as much.
Yeah.
Or looking from side to side, I would be more direct. But otherwise, I think I did all right.
Yeah. Good. You're welcome to stand up. We've had people do these demos standing up if you're more comfortable. I'm fine with that. But I thought you did fine. For this part, I obviously know that you're kind of restricted to, trying to be in front of a screen. And, I think Ruben and I have done this long enough that I can tell that you have energy and you're going to be up and moving around a room and all of that stuff. Right now, it's more of the flow. What are some of your ideas? What are some of your questions? And how do you respond to questions? How do you weave in the content without, as you said, dictating from a PowerPoint? That's sort of what we're looking for right now. And that's what we're going to be giving you feedback on. The fact that, I can tell, Allan, you're a high energy guy. And you're not going to be like sitting in one part of the room, not moving. So
yeah, right.
That doesn't seem like your style.
No.
So great. Ruben, would you like to give Allan some feedback so that he can move on and learn and improve for the next time?
Yes.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So Allan, I enjoyed it, and I think you're gonna really do well with this. And we need you in the New York chapter. We need you on our training team. So, boy, whatever Kelly and I can do to support you and keep you moving forward, we're behind you all the way. Okay, so know that.
Oh, thank you.
One thing that strikes me about this demo is, you came in thinking that you might do the workshop opening and a principal in 30 minutes, right? You thought you might be able to do that.
Right.
And we went about 25 minutes and you did the opening, no principal. We didn't play the Herm Edwards video. What I'm pointing out is the challenge of time management, and hey, Allan, Kelly knows me. She's been to my workshop. She knows that I struggle with, keeping things moving, and it's for the reason that it's going to be a challenge for you is you got us engaged, and you drew out some really good stuff from your participants, even though there were only 2 of them. You drew out some good stuff, and you gave us that space to explore that and to share. And we absolutely want that to happen. And when you're good at that, now that 2 hours is going to fly by, And so I don't have. I'm just bringing that up for awareness and sharing that's part of the challenge, So, hey, the sneaker activity, Kelly and I are going to teach that to other trainers. So, it's just fun. And now let me ask you this. So when we throw our shoes into the middle and then you assign us to go and pick a shoe that's not ours, and we're going to go try to find it and match up. So we're going to be finding somebody, and somebody's going to be trying to find us, and it's not going to be the same person, because it's unlikely that, you know, we pick up each other's shoes.
Right.
So that's part of it, right? That we're actually going to interact with two different people there.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to meet more than one person. We get into these groups and you meet one person. You know, such as you guys, we've gone to, like, you know, clinics for our respective sports, and you know, and you just shake one or two people's hands. You come home with a couple of business cards, and you're like, man, I really networked, and you really didn't, because you just met a couple people where you shake, that's not mine. Oh, how are you doing? That's not mine. No, how you doing? You might meet 5 or 6 people depending on how big your group is. So it gives you an opportunity, you know, meet some people before you get your smelly sneaker back. But you know,
I thought it was creative. I've never seen that done, and I thought it was creative and just a great idea. So, so you know, getting back to, you know, pacing. You know, where can you get a few seconds? Where can you get a few minutes? One place is that PCA stat slide.
Yep.
Right. You know, you don't have to tell us all 4 statistics that are on there. Give us one. You know, we see it up there, and I'd be on that slide for 15 seconds or less. And, you know, so as you look at certain slides, which ones can be short and crisp. And in the trainer notes, we often will make a note where, hey, this is a quick hitter slide. Don't stay on it too long. So you might look for some of those notes that we put in to the scripts trainer notes. So 3 ideas, and then I'll turn it back over to Kelly. 3 ideas. It was interesting how you asked us about what does creating an atmosphere for best performance, because I think that's an interesting question to ask the group what that phrase means. The way the script is written, it's to ask the group what the phrase positive coaching means to them. And then we share our ideas. And then as a trainer, if we don't bring it up, you go, you know, it's true. It's about treating people with respect. It's about being a role model. It's about catching people doing things right. Those things are all true. At PCA, we summarize that by saying, we think it's about creating an atmosphere for best possible performance. Because a lot of people's first impression is Positive Coaching Alliance is soft on competition, anti-competition. Well, actually, no, we think this is a technique for getting your athletes to play well and to win games. So you know, it's interesting the way you did that, though. And I think that it worked. I think it worked really well.
Yeah, I liked it.
So maybe
keep doing it.
Maybe we'll have all trainers do it that way. You know, okay. 2 other things. You know, when we talked about negativity, and one of the examples came up, well, we get negative because the ref makes bad calls. I think that's a place where you can save some time here, because when are we going to talk about respect for officials in this workshop?
In the roots.
In roots. So I would table that. Go. You know, and I would jump on something else, an example there, and leave that for later in the workshop. Okay. And then you mentioned that PCA provides tools on the website, and you've got a book full of tools right in front of you. You know, they're in most of the Double Goal Coach Winning in Life Lessons workshops, they get a copy of the book that you read during your time with me, Power. And that has 3 chapters full of tools. So, you know, if you're going to tell them where to find tools, don't leave out the book.
Gotcha. That makes great sense.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
That makes great sense.
Thanks, Ruben.
Yep.
Ruben, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, Allan.
Yeah, I had each one of those comments as well. I really liked the way you did, because it got me thinking about, how do I create an atmosphere? And I felt that was a great way to just put it out there, because I love how you tied in. It's not just about you. It's about the community. It's about the parents, about the coaches. And that's what we're all about, creating this culture. So I thought that I really liked the way you did that. I really loved the shoe activity, Allan. I would actually add it one step further and give them a task when they meet somebody. So when you find your partner with your shoe, tell them about the best coach you ever had, or the coach that made the greatest impact on you, or your greatest challenge as a coach, or how many years you've been coaching, or what you coach. You know, give them a task so that it's not just like, hey, I'm Kelly, hey, I'm Ruben. It's hey, I'm Kelly and I've been coaching for 25 years and this is what I coach, or something like that. Or it can even be something ridiculous, like, hey, tell them about your favorite ice cream flavor, something to get them purposely talking about something. But I love it when it's linked to a purpose in the workshop. So that was just my explanation of that. Just to give you some clarity on the text to sign in, because this is an important part of the workshop. When they do the text to sign in, it's got 3 purposes. So number 1, it is going to connect them to our mission. So it's going to get them signed in. They're going to get credit for being here. And they're also going to get a certificate mailed to them that says they're officially a double goal certified coach, double goal coach certified. So that's number 1. Number 2, they're going to be getting a follow-up email. That's called talking points. It's going to come to them weekly, and it's going to give them lots of tools. So you can tell them that as well. And number 3, it's also a good way for us to measure our impact across the country. So that, just to let you know. And they're going to be getting an email, not a text. I think you said like you'll get a text response. Yeah. So they're going to get emails just so that you know.
An email series. They'll get an email series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But it only goes 10 weeks. And then after 10 weeks, it's done. So just to let them know it's limited.
Because not everybody wants their phone blowing up with text messages every time they rather get an email. Okay.
And I tell them too, it's a once a week email that you get. And I've had many coaches say, can I get it more than 10 weeks? And I say, absolutely, you can get it more. But at any time, if you don't want to get it, you can unsubscribe. One of the reasons I intentionally brought up when you asked me the question about negativity, I brought up that tough, I got to be tough. Because that comes up almost at every workshop. The idea that tough does not equal negative. And I think you really did a nice job at handling that, couching that comment, that toughness does not mean negativity. And I often use the term in my workshops that we want you to be demanding, not demeaning. And I think that's just a good way to put it, because positive coaches are tough. They do hold players accountable, but we don't use negativity as a motivator, and we make sure that we're not being demeaning and degrading to players in order to motivate them and use fear. So I thought you handled that well, but I intentionally throw that out there like, yeah, I'm mostly positive, but I am tough. I am negative, because that's something that a lot of coaches do equate. Tough means tough love, negative, screaming at the kids. And then one step on that is to say, does that work? So if I were to ask you, Allan, does negativity, yelling at players, work for you?
Right. And I would say, no, it doesn't. Right. Or,
okay.
Yes,
you might say, no, it doesn't. There might be another coach next to you that goes, yeah, it does.
Right.
Works great. So it's just a little opportunity to challenge and push back a little bit. And I love anytime I can get participants in the room to disagree on things, because it brings up the energy in the room. Like, well, wait, you say negativity does work. You say it doesn't. Let's go. Let's go.
Right.
And it's just interesting. It gets people thinking, but then you can obviously mediate the conversation and get them to the point where saying, in the long run, the long-term effects of negativity, it can be damaging. And, positivity is definitely more effective for motivating players. And we know that, so I'm just saying it's not a bad idea to kind of push the envelope a little bit and see where they go. Yeah. So let me see what else. I love your phraseology. I love the segue that you did into, PCA is going to give you a lot of support. I thought that was a good segue into, and here's the support. We use research. We use, you gave a specific example of how PCA can help you. And I think that's what coaches want. They want concrete examples. When you said, maybe you want to talk to parents at a pregame talk about how to handle this, PCA can help you with that. So anytime you can use a specific example from your own experience, I think that was really great too. Look for opportunities for us to discuss things in small groups or with a pair, because that's also another time saver. When you put out a question, if you have a group of 40 coaches and you put out a question and you answer and Ruben answers, that's only you and Ruben involved. And then you point to me and then I answer, and that's only you and I talking. Right. And then you point to the dude in the back row and that's only the 2 of you. So out of 40 coaches, you've got 37 sitting there watching, probably texting their spouse, falling asleep, and you're engaging 3 people. So not every time, but if you say, hey, turn to 2 people, get in a group of 3, turn to people next to you, front row, turn around to the next row, and you guys talk in a group of 6, whatever it is. If you get everybody discussing, it's a time saver for you, because you don't have to say, what's your answer? What's your answer? What's your answer? They all just discussed it. And you can walk around the room and listen in and say, you know what I heard when you were I heard this gentleman over here said this. I heard this coach over here said this. I heard this coach say this. So it's just a time saver, because everybody gets engaged in the conversation at the same time.
Gotcha.
So look for opportunities to do that. I love, did you lose or learn? I love that you were talking about what you did on your team. I think it's really important in the introduction for the coaches to know who you are as a coach. And so when you brought up, on my team, I say, we didn't lose, we learned. Right. That is something I'd like to see a little bit more of in the introduction, Allan. I want, sitting in the room, not knowing you at all, I would like to know a little bit of a glimpse into what you do as a coach. Okay. So if it's a story about, hey, I'm coaching, I don't even know what you coach. Are you coaching high school basketball? Have you coached college? So I want to know maybe a quick little story. Coaches connect, people connect to stories. That's right. So in the intro, if you can just give us a glimpse of who you are, Coach Allan, and what you do, even in whether it's, what you've done in the past or what you do now, or what you were coached like when you were a player. Any glimpse into that can really help us connect to you. And then when we connect to you, we're going to be more committed to what you're saying. Does that make sense? It makes sense. So, yeah. So that's it.
Kelly, let me, I tried to interrupt you, but I was on mute.
But I stopped talking.
But now I'm interrupting.
Go ahead, interrupt away.
So Allan, you play basketball professionally, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So at some time in the workshop, and you got to tell us something about that you experienced. I mean, most of us only could dream of playing sports professionally, And
I think I left that part out because when we first got started, you said I was introduced.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, if I was introduced, I'm figuring that was part of my.
Not just the fact that you played professionally and it was in Europe and this, but something about the experience, Yeah. One thing that I got to do is I got to play for 20 different basketball coaches. Mm-hmm. Right, and some of them were this way and some of them were that way. And what I know is that, something about the experience that connects. I mean, don't tell us, in Amsterdam, it was awesome because we got to ride on the gondolas or whatever. Yeah, right. No. But when I got to Europe and the style of coaching, and whatever it is, just a little piece. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not bragging. It's not bragging. Allan, you're a humble person. That's clear. Anyone who meets you in the first 5 minutes knows that you're a humble person. So, it's just giving us what Kelly's talking about, a little insight into you as a coach, an athlete, a person, and how you experienced positive coaching or win at all costs coaching.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Ruben. I think too, Allan, to piggyback on that, it also makes me feel like when I'm a 8-year-old youth basketball coach in your workshop, and you're telling me that some of these principles would be effective at the professional level as well, that all of a sudden is like, what? Are you kidding me? Steve Kerr has to use positive feedback. Are you kidding me? I think that helps to stretch the principles and give it credibility that, this is what a coach did for me at the highest level. And if we can do this to kids at this level now, I mean, that's where the credibility comes in. And that's one of the assets that you have that not many have. So I definitely agree with Ruben to toss that in there, throw that in there. Just my other last minute suggestions would be, you are definitely a physical guy. So you can make your workshops a little more physical. Bring in something to keep me as I'm sitting there at the end of my really long day. I have worked all day. I've coached. I haven't had dinner. And now I'm sitting at your workshop. So make me involved, get me to stand up, to sit down, to snap my fingers, to clap my hands, to agree, disagree, thumbs up, thumbs down, high five the person next to me. Not a circus, but just randomly throughout the workshop, keep it kinesthetic. Keep me doing something that's going to keep my blood flowing, whether it's stand up and high five 3 people and those are your partners for the next group, or just, hey, snap to vote. You even said like, hey, thumbs up if you agree, snap if you agree with this, or clap, or just do something that can keep my blood boiling and my blood moving. And I know you're that kind of guy. You're a physical guy. Don't be afraid to throw it into a workshop. It's a lot more fun. And coaches expect to be, when they see a screen and they see a PowerPoint and they see a person in front of it with a clicker, they're like, oh gosh, here we go. It's going to be a 2-hour lecture. And no matter how much you tell them, it's not going to be a 2-hour lecture. They still see a PowerPoint and they want it. If you get them up throwing their shoe in the first minute, they're like, all right, maybe this won't be a lecture. Yeah, but make sure you sprinkle that in throughout the whole workshop. Again, it takes time and it's good to be smooth with it, not to make it into a crazy town, but some way to bring in something to get me engaged throughout the whole workshop will help their answers be better. And they're going to be more lively in conversation.
Okay, you got
Yeah.
my wheel spinning now. Now
I know. I'm
That's good.
challenging you.
Yeah.
Have fun with
Yeah.
it. Have fun with it. Yeah. So that was, I mean, that was it. My other thing just said, don't forget to reference the book, especially if there are books available. The like Emily in New York has worked really hard to sell those books to the partner, and they're a fantastic resource. Don't be afraid to mention that that's a resource as well that they're going to have, and you'll do that when you get to the principles, because the principles have the tools that are right in the book.
Gotcha.
But
yeah, right.
yeah. So that's what I have. I'm excited. I'm excited to see you.
I love the feedback from both of you. That makes me better. And so I humbly accept all of that feedback. I think it will help me grow. And, you know, I do. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So what I would love to do sooner than later is have you go through one of the principles, and because the principles set up differently. The principles set up with a little bit of background on what it is. And then we give them a scenario to get them to think about, okay, why is this important to me? Why do I need to fill tanks? Why do I need to focus on mastery versus the scoreboard? So they kind of are connecting that to their team. And then we're giving them tools, concrete things. The coaches love the tools. So we don't just want to tell them about the tools. We want to get them to think about it, work through it, role play it. How can they actually use this tool when they go out to practice tomorrow? So that's how the 3 principles are set up. I'd love to see you do one of them, just to see what creative ideas you have and how you could get the coaches engaged in this.
Okay.
I feel confident that we could send you out to a workshop tomorrow and you'd do a great job. But I think because this is an opportunity that we have to practice before you get out there, I'd love to see you do that.
Okay.
Alan, remind me of your exact location again.
In upstate New York, Albany, New York.
He's close to the capital. Yeah.
Yeah.
How far is that from New York City? 3 hours, 4?
About 3 hours, if that. I mean, depending on where you're going in New York City. I'm originally from New York City, so I frequent that drive, so it's not a big deal for me. Sometimes I get down there in 2 hours and 45 minutes, and sometimes 3 hours, depending on traffic and things like that. So it's not too bad. It gets a little bit more of a distance when I'm going west towards like the Syracuse,
Long Island,
Rochester.
Yeah, Syracuse.
That would be south. But when I'm going more out towards Syracuse, Rochester, above, those rides are really, really long. So I'm closer to maybe like the Utica area. Syracuse, I think, is about two and a half hours, but Rochester areas get really far.
Okay.
And I know what the one principle I would I really like the most. I mean, I like them all, but the one I like just because of the game of basketball is honoring the game. I really like that. I think that's the one I'll discuss with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The point.
Well, let me know. I mean, I'm ready as early as tomorrow, so let me know when you're ready.
Oh, then let's do it tomorrow. Wait, hang on. Charles. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be tomorrow because I don't know what time you're available tomorrow, but I'm just saying you don't have to wait a week. I mean, whenever you're ready.
No, I know. I don't think he has practice until later tomorrow. So I think I could do the same time tomorrow as I did today. Can you? I
have a call tomorrow at this time exactly with another trainer, but I'm available before that time if you, I don't know what you're.
Yeah, see, I'll be done with another thing at 2:15, but I'll get back here until like 3.
Okay. Yeah, I have a call from like 3:15 to probably 4:15. So let me think. 4:30, 5:30. Yeah, we actually have our championship game tomorrow night for my team. We're in the league championship tomorrow night.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, thanks. So I have to leave my house around 4 o'clock tomorrow. So how about we can do? I mean, it's up to you.
Early next week. We
can do early, like Monday. Whatever.
Okay. Do you have time during the day tomorrow?
Oh yeah, I'm good anytime up until that. I have a call with my boss at 2. But other than that, a call with my team at 1 and my boss. I'm good anytime during the day.
Okay, so how about we do this? I'll check tonight and I'll email you tonight.
Yep.
And are we roughly thinking about the same amount of time tomorrow?
Yep. About 20 minutes.
About 20 minutes?
With about 10 minutes of feedback. So bank on about a half hour.
Okay. And I'll email you shortly. And I'll let you know about tomorrow. And if we can't figure out a time tomorrow, then we can schedule, like Ruben said, for early next week.
Perfect.
Kelly, we have our training team call from 1 to 2.